Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the MERMAIL Master coming at you from the Team Time Riders Yugi Tube channel with a very special deck profile. As you all probably know, my name is the MERMAIL Master, yet throughout the entire time that this channel has been active, I have yet to do a deck profile on the deck for which I am known, and that is MERMAILs. MERMAILs are one of my favorite decks. I started building them around the time of Shadow Specters, I believe. And since then, I've been steadily improving and tweaking the deck. The basic theme of the deck that I like is that it's a very combo-based deck and it's very versatile, which allows you to have like more interesting kinds of plays. The thing that is best about it is that it's split up into not one piece that like does your combos, but two. You have the MERMAILs who like to discard water monsters to activate their effects and special summon themselves, and then you have Atlanteans which like to be discarded. So while most MERMAIL effects are sometimes +0s or -2s, you get back that card advantage with the Atlanteans, and it really helps to push forward your field. Sort of a war of attrition where you pop things on your opponent's side of the field and then amass massive boards. So recently with the release of Neptibus this past January, the deck has sped up a lot, but I think that we're coming into an era where the deck is going to slow down. Still, this is an awesome deck that I really think that, if you have the time and the money, that you should definitely build. So without further ado, let me get into the deck profile and I'll explain my choices along the way. Alright, so it wouldn't be a MERMAIL deck without one of my favorite monsters of the deck, and that is 3 copies of MERMAIL Abyss Megalo. Abyss Megalo is the main playmaker that you have in the deck. When it's special summoned you can special summon into the field as an effect by discarding 2 water monsters from your hand, and then when it's special summoned, it will search you a Abyss spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Usually you can search things like Abyss Sphere or the spell card Abyss Scale of Mizuki. And basically MERMAIL Abyss Megalo is a massive way to trigger most of your cards and to get water monsters to your graveyard for like moving Glacier. And it also has an effect that you can tribute 1 face-up attack position water monster and it can attack twice. So basically there's lots of ways that MERMAIL Abyss Megalo can trigger your Atlanteans, and usually if you're going to put an OTK on board, you have to have at least one of these. In most MERMAIL decks that I've built, I've never run less than 3 of MERMAIL Abyss Megalo, because I think it's just that good a card and it's just that vital and important to the deck. So yeah, MERMAIL Abyss Megalo. The next MERMAIL we have in the deck is 3 copies of MERMAIL Abyss Teus. Teus is kind of like Megalo in the sense that it is a MERMAIL. It's a level 7 that also requires a discard. So you just discard 1 water monster from your hand, special summon it, and then when you do, you get to search a level 4 or lower MERMAIL monster from your deck to your hand. So pretty much that's a a +0 or like -1 in card economy, but if you discard an Atlantean such as Dragoons or something like that, you're going to easily be able to get that card economy back. So that's MERMAIL Abyss Teus. Really, really good card and can really help to like speed up your plays. Still, there's no real way to search this, so once there is, like, looking forward to a lot more versatility. Now, the next MERMAILs I have to show are 1 copy of Abyss Gun. I actually have this in here at 1 because I used to run it at 2, but the problem with the deck is that when you're speeding through with Neptibus, you can't really find this as often as you'd like. And it isn't really live in the early game. You have to wait for one of your MERMAILs to actually be destroyed because Neptibus will only dump your Atlanteans to the graveyard, so it's something that's dead early game. And it's something that like maybe you only want to search when you absolutely need to do it. Still though, I'm hoping that multiple sphere MERMAILs will come back and I'll be able to run this card at more than 1. It's one of my favorite cards in the deck. Next card is 1 copy of MERMAIL Abyss Pike and 1 copy of MERMAIL Abyss Linde. So these sort of go hand in hand together. Linde is of course something that you can activate off of Sphere. Many people consider it a bit slow in the format, But if you sphere into Linde and then you Linde into Pike, you can easily search level 3 monsters straight out of your deck. So I know some people are still running like Brilliant Fusion and Undyne, but you can search a gun, you can search a heavy infantry, or you can search a marksman. It gives you more options on the field, but it isn't the main focus of the deck anymore. But yeah, so that's Linde Pike. And that's it for the Mermail monsters. And now moving on to the Atlantean monsters. The Atlanteans wouldn't be complete without 3 copies of Neptibus, the Atlantean Prince. Now, this is the playmaker that instantly put Mermails back on the map. I sort of have a love-hate relationship with this card, particularly because Atlantean Prince is a discarder, so it takes some of the Mermail's jobs. My opinion is that if it had been a level 3 Mermail monster, that it would have been much better and I would have had a better time running it. However, I will discuss some of that stuff in a future video. Neptibus's effects, or it has 2 effects actually. You can ditch 1 Atlantean to add an Atlantean from your deck to your hand, so it's sort of better than Undyne in that way. So you can, for instance, ditch a Dragoons to add a Dragoons from your deck to your hand, and then Dragoons effect will trigger in the graveyard to add like a Diva or a Megalo or something that you need. And it's easily searchable off of 1 for 1, and when you tribute it either from the field or your hand, you get to special summon 1 Atlantean monster from your graveyard. So it's super good. It just keeps your card economy going, and you can easily, like this card, like, you can easily amass like 7k, like 17,000 damage boards with this thing, which is like super awesome. It can also easily be fetched from the deck with Sea Diva, which is another very attractive factor about the card. So yeah, Neptibus, the Atlantean Prince. And then for the Atlanteans themselves, running 2 copies of Dragoons, pretty self-explanatory. If this was at 3, that would be awesome. You usually want to get these out of your deck. You never want to draw these. You usually want to get them out of your deck with Neptibus. Just send a Dragoons to search a Dragoons, and then just keep your plus plays going from there. So this you actually want to keep in your deck to keep your plays live. But really awesome. And its effect is not once per turn, to search you 1 Sea Serpent from your deck to your hand, and that's any Sea Serpent. If you wanted, you can even run it with like Levia Dragon Daedalus in like some kind of fish OTK deck or something. 2 copies of Atlantean Heavy Infantry. When it's discarded, you pop 1 card or 1 face-up card on the field. And also its other effect is that when it's summoned, you can also summon an extra Sea Serpent, level 4 or lower Sea Serpent to the field. So there's times where I've used one of this plus Neptibus and Megalo, special the Megalo, and then normal this, and then you get 1 extra normal summon. So very versatile and a very useful card. Thinking about bumping it up to 3, but I'm really liking 2 right now. And then 2 copies of Atlantean Marksman, just for that versatility. This one pops face down cards, so face down defense position stuff, and then it will also, if you attack directly with it, you can special summon an Atlantean from your deck. So sometimes you can fetch your Dragoons for a bit of extra damage, or even just a Neptibus to start getting your plays going. So there have been times where I've attacked directly with Marksman for that ability. But yeah, he's your 3rd discard. Alright. Next, we run 1 copy of Sea Diva. This card right here, if you open with this, like, you've practically won the game. Barring like an Effect Veiler or like a Max C into like, some Gorge or something like that. If your opponent doesn't have any response to Sea Diva, that's like an instant Moulin Glacier. That's an instant like over 8,000 damage on board. This plus 1 card in your hand, or 1 water monster in your hand, is just an OTK on board. And like Sea Diva just opens so many plays in the deck, and you absolutely have to have it. Me personally, I don't think it should be at more than 1, mostly because of just how much it opens up in the deck. But yeah, like, you absolutely have to run it. It's that good. 1 copy of Moulin Glacier. Very often you can get 5 water monsters in your graveyard. He's a water as well. Special summon him to the field and discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. The great thing is that if you can get like a Dweller on board with an instant fusion or something like that, you just Dweller and then you Moulin Glacier, and if they have like Burning Abyss monsters or like a Cosmo or something like that that can get an effect when it's discarded to the graveyard, it will no longer get those effects. It still has that battle phase restriction, but it's an awesome, awesome card, and you absolutely should run it at 1. Alright, the last couple of monsters, 2 effect failures and 2 max Cs. I like this ratio. I used to have it at 3 max Cs and 2 effect failures, but this gives you like a lot of options. Effect failures specifically to stop like those first turn plays, and then you can side into Chalice's game 2. And then that C is just, of course, to build up special summons. The one weakness of Mermails is that they absolutely cannot go first. Like there's no like sort of recourse or options if they go first. And if your opponent just can OTK you on the second turn, like that's a big problem with the deck. So it's something to watch out for. But yeah, Maxi, 2 Maxi and 2 Veiler I found are a nice ratio, and you can of course switch up the ratios at any point that you want. And for the final monsters of the deck, we are running a small Kaiju Engine, the 2 Gameciel and 1 each of the level 7 Kaijus. This, of course, as you'll see, will be running Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. This is just basically like to out those boards that you can't really out, like, you know, a Dark Destroyer or a Beatrice or just any one of those monsters that just pluses on destruction. You just summon a Gameciel to their side of the field, and then you can special summon a Humongous or a Radiant, and that's instantly like a weaker monster on their side of the field, and then also a level 7 that you can use to exceed summon. So really, really useful, and I really love the Kaiju Engine in this deck because of how just versatile a way that it deals with threats. So yeah, looking to get these in Super actually. All right, so that was it for the monsters. I believe that's 29 monsters. Moving on to the spell cards of the deck. Starting off for spells, we have 3 copies of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is just a way to power into your Norden. I really don't like to run Thousand Eyes Restrict, and also there's not really that much extra deck space to be able to support Thousand Eyes. But yeah, 3 Instant Fusion because you want to see it as early as possible, and you want to like be able to power into your Norden play. So yeah, like this is literally just like plus city over here. 1 card XYZ. 2 Twin Twister, pretty self-explanatory. Discard 1 card, pop 2 back row, and also can trigger Gun Day. So you can do this on your turn or your opponent's turn, because Gun Day's effect states that it just has to be discarded. You don't need to discard it for like a water monster's effect. So a lot of people sometimes don't see that coming, and Twin Twister is really good for that. And then, as I was talking, the 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber to round out the rest of that Kaiju Engine. These just basically summon out the Kaiju, destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field, and then summon out a Kaiju to each side. So you give them a Gameciel and then give you one of the level 7s. You already have 1/2 of a Synchro. You already have 1/2 of an XYZ play and can like push in more from there. And then if you have this card in your graveyard, you can also banish it to search a Kaiju from your deck to your hand, except on the turn that it's sent there, which is like awesome to just have a searchable out to big threats that your opponent wants to field. So yeah, like this card is absolutely amazing. I replaced Dark Holes with these when I was doing the deck earlier, and yeah, it's just really that good. So next format, like there might be more targeting and stuff, so I'm thinking about what I want to do with the Kaiju Engine, but in this format with like Cosmos and Monarchs and different things like that, like the Kaijus have been a godsend. 1 for 1, this is just for Neptibus. Discard 1 monster to the graveyard, special summon the Neptibus, or even an effect failure if you want from your deck, and yeah, just gets your plays going and doesn't count as a normal summon, so you can just still keep going off from there. Salvage is good, very good card. Fetch back your Atlanteans from your graveyard. Biscale of the Mizuki. I'm running this particular one because of the number of spells in the format. I don't like how it was ruled with like the pendulums where it automatically detaches, but like this can boost your Megalo up to 3,200, and then all you need is like a Dragoons or something like that to make it a game. So a Biscale of the Mizuki can also detach itself to negate the first spell card your opponent activates that turn. So in addition to being an OTK thing, it can also have a little bit of defensive power as well. And one cool thing that I like to do with it is I actually like to use this with Abyss Gaius sometime, because Abyss Gaius says that you can detach a material to negate all monsters' effects on the field whose attack power is lower than it. So what Abyss Scale of the Mizuki does is you equip it to Abyss Gaius, and it raises the attack threshold from 2,800 to 3,600. So then the Abyss Gaius can now pretty much negate anything in the game, because pretty much everything your opponent's going to summon is going to be below that 3,600 attack. So super, super good card. And then the final spell card is one Ragetti, because Ragetti is super good. And now for the trap card. There's a singular lone Abyss Sphere. This is just to be searched off of Megalo, and I like opening this like first turn sometimes, especially if you're playing against a Cosmo deck. You can just activate this card and special summon a Lind, and it lets you survive for longer. Old style of Mermails used to run this at 3, and I would be looking forward to seeing if that kind of Mermail style would return at some point. I might see if I can like rebuild this deck to give you like sort of a deck profile on the way that Mermails used to be run. That was my favorite way. I think that Neptibus sometimes unfairly bottlenecks the deck into doing specific things, and I'd love to see like Abyss Sphere come back to 3 again, or run it, be like competitive at 3 again, because it was it was harkens back to a time where the deck was just very versatile and had a lot of ways to deal with threats. And yeah, like it was around the time that I started playing the game. So that's Abyss Sphere, and that's the whole deck. It's 40 cards. And now moving on to the extra deck. So starting out with the extra deck, we have one Tatsunoko. This is a fantastic synchro monster. One of the best. It's a synchro tuner, and you can use synchro monsters from your hand, but mostly what you can do is you can make this off of a Diva and a Neptibus, which will fill up your graveyard with enough monsters to fuel a first turn ruling Glacier play, which can be like devastating for your opponent. And just, it fuels like so many options in the deck. Can make you like a Trishula if you need to, can make you pretty much any monster you need, and is also unaffected by monster effects. So it just like fixes a whole bunch of problems in the Mermail deck, and I absolutely love this card. I would not take it out for like pretty much anything. Stardust Charge Warrior. I'm splitting this between like this and Coral Dragon right now. I will hopefully be getting a copy of Coral Dragon too, but pretty much the reason Stardust Charge Warrior is in here is because when he is synchro summoned, he nets you a free draw, and free draws are always good. So you just synchro summon him and then get a free draw, and that helps you to hopefully extend your plays further. I remember I was playing a BA player once, and I summoned this thing and then free drawed into instant fusion and was able to OTK him that turn because of that card. So pretty much like all you need is just that one draw to get your plays going, and Stardust Charge Warrior really, really helps out with that. And make him with usually make him with a Diva and then Dragoons if you tribute it to Neptibus, special summon it from the graveyard. Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. When it attacks, it will your opponent cannot activate like card effects. So this can be good for like getting those OTKs done. Level 7, so very easy to make. I actually took out Gungnir for this card, so it's been pretty good so far. And of course the Bellwether card itself, one copy of Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Trishula is a godsend in the deck, honestly. When it came back to 1 and Dragoons went back to 2, there's a very, very happy time for me as a Mermail player. You can just easily, like, this card is just made so easily in the deck. You can, like, a Diva plus an empty field is like an instant Trishula. And then you can also like have some shenanigans, as I mentioned, with Tatsunoko. If you have Tatsunoko in like a level 4 on the field and you have an Atlantean Heavy Infantry in your hand, you just ditch those 4 and then synchro with the Atlantean Heavy Infantry in your hand, and that's just an instant Trish right there. So, like super, super, super strong play. Yeah, so that's Trishula. And then the final synchro I'm running is one copy of Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree, because it like something that like this was the OG untargetable dude. 3100 attack is like perfect to get over pretty much everything in the game at this current moment. Like this will get over the Dark Destroyer. This will get over like BA. Like I've been in matches where the BA player just scoops because they like there's nothing in the deck that can out this, and yeah, it's just like that good of a card, and you absolutely have to run it at 1. All right, now moving on to the XYZs, I'm starting off with my rank 7s right now. So starting off with rank 7s is, let's see, start off with Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sac. I still have this in here because there are options, like if you're running it up against a rogue deck, like this could be something that's very useful. But lately, its usability has sort of declined due to the fact that there isn't really that much targeted destruction in the format anymore, and it's not as strong. Like, you know, you can just Castel this card, or you can arc it, or do something of that nature to it. So it's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still a pretty strong card. Then I have one copy of number 11 Big Eye. I don't summon this too often, but in the times that I need to summon it, it comes in clutch. And like, you know, the moment you take it out, it's like that thing where you'll instantly need the card. Like you'll have a field of 2 level 7s, and just like your opponent's got a massive monster that you could have stolen in 1 and then didn't. That's happened to me before, so I like to have Big Eye in here for those contingency options. One copy of Mermail Abyss Gaius, as I mentioned. This card is absolutely fantastic. When he has XYZ material, your opponent, no one can attack with level 5 or higher monsters, no matter what. And like this is a condition, and then once returned during either player's turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material from it and negate the effects of all all face-up monster cards on the field. So like if during your opponent's turn, they summon like monsters out, like just detach and then negate all monster effects that are lower than it. And then of course it gains more power with the Abyss Scale of the Mizuki, which can just help to extend the plays even further. And then the final XYZ that I run is one copy of Red Eye's Flair Metal Dragon. Now Flair Metal Dragon is in this deck, mostly because I really wanted it. Like most players just run the Gaius, the Draco Sac, and the Big Eye, but Flair Metal is honestly a game ender, and it's my favorite of all 4 of the rank 7s, and it's actually the one that I go into the most. You know, if you have, you know, you're attacking onto a full field and you can't quite kill them, you just summon a Flare Metal, they have maybe like 1,000 life points left or something like that. That's only 2 plays that they can make to try and out Flare Metal, with at least one of them taking them down past a safety line of like 500 points. So super, super awesome. Like this can be like the thing that will turn like 1,000 like damage left. Instead of them OTKing you, you know, they'll just scoop it up and it'll give you wins that maybe you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So it's absolutely a card that I think that every MERMAIL player should run at 1. All right. Now moving on to the rank 4s. What would the deck be without Abyss Dweller? Abyss Dweller is the greatest rank 4 bar none in this extra deck. And that's mostly because of its ability that no matter when you summon it, you can always detach a material. So this will, like, you summon it off of an instant fusion, detach 1 material, get your Dragoons effects off, detach a material to fill up the graveyard for a moving Glacier play. It's just like, it's a very versatile card, and activate during your opponent's turn to, you know, negate all their cards, and then also gains, if it has a water monster as an exceed material, gives every single water monster on your field 500 extra attack power, which is like, which will boost like a boosted Megalo up to like 3,700 attack power, and you just attack with that twice, and then like just the Dweller, and that's pretty much game on board right there. So like absolutely an amazing card. I've never actually needed more than 1 Dweller. So like I've never missed a second Dweller. I've never really needed one, but it's definitely like if I had to just like move a card up to 2, like this would definitely be like one of the first, if not the first card to be considered. All right, 1 copy of Silent Honor Ark. because this is a water deck, so you can actually trigger Dragoons off of this. That's really the only reason it's left in here. Castel is largely a better card than it, but you can trigger Dragoons, and sometimes stealing your opponent's monsters is better than like putting them back into the deck where they can be researched. So really depending on the situation. It does target, so that is an issue, but it's a very good card that I think you should consider. One copy of Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer, for what I just mentioned. Detaching 2 to like bouncing stuff back to your opponent's deck is super good, but it will not trigger your Dragoons, so I go into it actually a little bit less than I do Ark in this deck, but still a fantastic card. And then the final 2 XYZs I run are 1 copy of number 39 Utopia and 1 copy of S39 Utopia Lightning. I actually took Bahamut Shark and Abyss Trite out for these, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made in this extra deck. Just this thing is just a surprise game stealer. In round 1 of YCS Providence, I managed to steal game 2 against my opponent by just simply summoning S39 and then just beating down with it and a Megalo. It's just like, you just make it with an instant fusion play and just proceed to win from there. So absolutely a like amazing card. And then the final, of course, is 1 Elder Entity Norden. Elder Entity Norden's just in here for the instant fusion plays. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is. So yeah, that was the main and extra. I'm currently revamping my side, hopefully to get the next format going, but I've traded away I've traded away my Mask of Restricts and like my anti-spells and stuff like that.